And here's what we're watching right now. Everyone able to make it out okay after an overnight house fire in the city's East End. One woman carried out of the home in a chair. This is after a two-alarm fire erupting around 3:30 this morning on Elviston Drive. This is in the Vic Park and Eglinton area. It appears the blaze may have started in the rear of the home. So far, there's no word on a cause and no reports of any injuries. Two cyclists have been killed in the GTA in less than 24 hours. The first, a female rider struck and killed by a construction truck in the Annex yesterday afternoon. The second, a man in York Region struck by a vehicle in Markham. And so this brings into question safety on our roads. Let's get over to our Tammy Sutherland live outside of Traffic Services with the latest on the safety initiatives as well as the numbers. Tammy.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, Vision Zero, this traffic safety campaign throughout the city, is in effect, but we're still seeing this constant, every day almost, you're seeing someone, whether it's a pedestrian, a driver, or a cyclist or motorcyclist, who is killed. Yesterday, the latest cyclist fatality happened at St. George and Bloor at around the noon hour. A 58-year-old woman was riding her bike when she collided with a truck in the area. She was pronounced dead on scene. Now, there are many designated bike lanes there in the area. However, it's still not determined whether or not she was in the bike lane at the time of this collision. And then outside of the city itself, in Markham last night, a 47-year-old man was killed while he was riding his bike. He was riding in the area of Elgin Mills, just between Kennedy and McCowan last night, when he was struck by a vehicle and pronounced dead there on scene as well. So once again, this brings into question, rather, cyclist safety here in the city. Not just cyclists, though, pedestrians. This here in the city, we now have 34 fatalities when it comes to our roads here in the city so far this year, and that is up from 26 this time last year. So we'll be speaking to Constable Clint Stibbe about safety initiatives that have been put into place already throughout the city and what can be done in order to help people stay safe out on those roads. Mel, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Tammy, thank you for that. It appears that U.S. President Donald Trump going to take out his frustration with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on the Canadian people. The threat against Canadians and our economy comes after Trudeau's criticism of Trump's tariffs following the G7 summit in Quebec. The Canadian government trying to get the U.S. to exempt Canada from new steel and aluminum tariffs, and there is growing concern over Trump's threat to impose automobile tariffs. Now, Canada, the U.S. and Mexico are also in the midst of a bitter renegotiation of the NAFTA, and it appears now that Trump's frustration with Trudeau will be directed again against our citizens.
No, I have a good relationship with Justin Trudeau. I really did. Other than he had a news conference that he had because he assumed I was in an airplane and I wasn't watching. He learned that's going to cost a lot of money for the people of Canada. He learned. You can't do that. You can't do that.
On his comments, as I've said, I'm going to stay focused on defending jobs for Canadians and supporting Canadian interests.
While Trump is escalating the rhetoric, his trade advisor, Peter Navarro, apologizing for saying there is a, quote, special place in hell, end quote, for Trudeau because of his bad faith diplomacy during the G7 summit. But Navarro says it was his job to send a signal of strength. Meanwhile, Trudeau's stance in standing up to the U.S. has been getting strong support here in Canada. Mayor John Tory saying he is behind our Prime Minister.
That I stand with our Prime Minister and with our incoming Premier, Mr. Ford. That rhetoric threatens our economic well-being and it threatens the prosperity of both of our countries.
Meanwhile, our Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is heading to Washington today for a two-day visit to meet with U.S. lawmakers to push Canada's anti-tariff pro-NAFTA stand. Two Toronto police officers facing charges now in connection with the Tess Ritchie investigation. Officers Michael Jones and Alan McCullough appearing at a police tribunal hearing yesterday, facing charges of misconduct and neglect of duty under the Police Services Act. Ritchie's mother found her body in a stairwell 4 days after she was reported missing in the Yonge and Wellesley area back in November. Now, the charges allege police didn't search the area thoroughly and did not conduct a canvass of neighbors. 22-year-old Kaylin Schlatter is charged with first-degree murder. Well, it is proving to be a deadly year in Toronto with the number of homicides up sharply over 2017. So far in 2018, there have been 39 murders in Toronto, 18 of them gun-related. At the same time last year, Toronto had just 21 murders, 15 of them gun-related. Here on Breakfast Television, Nancy Bachma, the mother of shooting victim Justin Bachma, will be joining us live to talk about the recent rash of gun violence in our city, as well providing us an update into the investigation of her son's murder. Toronto police will be holding a press conference later on this morning.